We're back at J111. This is lecture 6 on researching and writing the feature. So, well, this is journalism, and journalism means research. It means looking for background information, looking for more material, not just what's on the surface. And this requires journalism research. Whether you are writing a personality feature, a film review, or a news feature, we start by doing research. So put that in your head. So while you're probably not doing an IJ, you're not doing any investigative report, you're not trying to discover some level of corruption, okay? That's for our investigative journalism. We are trying to prepare the groundwork for a good feature. And preparing the groundwork means having all the information that we could possibly get. Now, the groundwork, depending on the type of feature, is different. So while all of them require research, there are different levels and different types of information that we should be trying to get. So research, of course, has three purposes. First, it reaffirms and expands the hypothesis, or it reveals that you are on the wrong track and need to start over. Even when you're doing a personality feature, we might want to feature a person this way, and then you do some background research and you realize that it's been written about so many times and there's really nothing new. So you'd have to think of a new tactic or a new angle. And that's one of the reasons research is important. In its early stages, research provides enough information to help you block out the article and write a coherent, convincing query letter also, especially for the freelancers. So if you know what is new, then when you write a query letter to a publisher, are you interested in a feature on so and so, on such and such? You already know that it's not yet been done, and you can highlight what makes your article worth publishing. And then it adds information and backgrounding to your article. So always the article itself will contain material from your research, additional material that you've gathered elsewhere, not just directly from the source. So like a news story, there are four main types of sources. So just to review, of course, you have your primary source. This is your subject itself, the source itself. It could be the eyewitnesses, especially if it's an event or a place that you're trying to cover, then eyewitnesses would be someone who was there during the event or someone who lives in that place, who can tell you more about it, or someone or an expert in the field. You're writing about, you're doing a feature on climate change, then you can interview an environmental scientist. So these are your primary sources. Secondary sources are those who interact with the first-hand sources. So not the witness, but the friend of the witness, not the subject matter. For example, you're writing about a famous person. So apart from interviewing the famous person, then you should interview, if possible, their friends, their acquaintances, the people they work with. So these are second-hand sources. Then the experts. So experts are also primary sources in a way, but they're not the subject matter, but they know about the subject matter and they can lend you their expertise. So for example, the subject matter is a restaurant and a particular dish. Of course, if you don't have the qualifications of a chef, you might not be able to write about it so well. So you could interview another chef not connected with the restaurant, of course, to give you their opinion. Make sure also that they're not rivals para hindi naman nila siraan, no? But somebody who has more expertise. So for example, someone who's teaching cooking in one of our culinary schools could be a good source. No? At the same time, they're not the competition. Then documents. No? So these include past articles, published articles on the subject. So while it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to quote them, it does give us a background on what has been done. It also gives us a clue of what questions to ask and not to ask. So these are the documents that we need. Um, or it could be documents referring to a place, especially for historical purposes. You're doing a historical feature. Then, let's say, documents related to the founding of that city or that municipality would be a nice addition to interviewing people. Okay, now, like we said, each type of feature requires a different type of research. So I'll just go through a few, and the rest you can ask me during consultations if needed. Um, if you need any additional guidelines while researching for a feature, then you can always email me with your question, or or ask in an online consultation. Okay, so first, what do we mean by when we say a profile, a personality profile? The idea here is we want to paint a picture of a person using words. We want to introduce them to our readers, um, you know, to show who they are, what they do, what makes them tick. We want to show a celebrity off screen, and we also want, for example, a politician. We want to introduce them or the real person, not the image, to their constituents. Also, we can explore other articles written about the subject, as we said, to see what angle we should take. It shouldn't we should be looking for a new angle, especially if the subject has been written about many times. Is there any information that's repeated again and again? So what information, even if it's been repeated again and again, maybe it's crucial to understand the person, and we have to include that in our feature, but not as a main part, but as part of the background. So what we have to do is through the first paragraph, through the not graph, we differentiate our article from what already exists. Okay, so well, the best way to understand this is to read up on various personality profiles done in several magazines. You can start with the profile that I did of Jessica Soho for the Gawad Plaridel. One of the challenging things about writing a profile about Jessica is she's been written about so many times. And of course, the new angle here is that the Lifetime Achievement Award that Gawad brings. And still, so you need to look for that new angle and how to approach it. So the syllabus has a few examples that you can explore, and you can also look through the internet for more examples of personality profiles. Now, when it comes to travel features, well, first of all, travel features have two objectives. First is to entice a reader to visit the place, or to give the reader a vicarious experience of visiting the place. Especially these days when we cannot actually travel, then one way of escaping is to read about a certain place and to dream about going there. So, so perhaps yes, that's why this is not included in one of the uh, assignments that we have for this semester because it is quite difficult to do. And it's not authentic if you write a travel feature based on something that you yourself did not experience. It will show. No, it will be very dull. No, because you cannot fake the enthusiasm of being in a place. So, okay, so apart from actually exploring the place, the writer should research and take note of some basic information. First, how to get there, the various ways of getting there, not just the way that you took, although you can claim that the way that you traveled might be the best way. You should also give alternatives to your readers. Then, of course, you should have options for low, medium, and big budget trips. No, so even if you are on a low budget trip, then you should ask around, um, for the ones with a bigger budget. Where can they stay? You could actually explore the lobby of the hotel that you would suggest, the level of service available, um, that's there. It'll also be good to include must sees. I mean, what they have to see if they're going to a place. What should they explore? Whether it's a famous building, a famous shop, um, what to taste, what to buy. What is the what product is the place known for? What is the best type of souvenir to take home? So these are the things. Or you could simply, of course, what areas are a waste of time. They might be in the tourist brochure, but they're actually, not that great, and it's really just hype. So you could also include that. And then, of course, the food. What are they known for? What are the dishes they should try? What restaurants should they try it in? So these are the things that you should be researching if you're doing a travel feature. Um, an art and culture feature is a little more tricky than a travel feature because travel is more experiential. Art and culture needs more study, needs more expertise. And usually, some of the feature writers that I know, what they do is they specialize in this, meaning they do additional studies in order to master the field. No? So, for example, someone who's in journalism can minor in art studies to be a very good art feature writer. So, when we mean by art and culture, we're talking about painting, music, sculpture, film, theater, so all these fields. Okay. Fashion, even, is included here. So, the feature normally has two objectives. It introduces readers to the artist and his work or her work. So even you're talking about an architect or a fashion designer, so you're introducing what type of designs to this person. What is he known for? To uplift the cultural knowledge and appreciation of the readers. No? So one of the things that art and culture features are informative. You're trying to also make, as you grow in knowledge, you also try to make your readers grow in knowledge. No, so the sad thing would be if your readers, after reading, you will say that's not true or that's not accurate. I know that I know better. No, so we have to make sure that whatever we put down, we verified that information. So also we have to keep in mind that there's a big difference between an art critique and a feature writer. Now, the art critique has the background and expertise to critique the art, to say that it is good and not or not, and to explain why. So, in other words, may case siya para mag-criticize. No, ang feature writer, wala. Walang K mag-criticize. So, dapat hindi mag-criticize. So, the feature writer cannot make such a judgment call. No, to say something is good or bad, it's just your taste, which not necessarily uh, is 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 it might be a popular taste, but it might not even be a popular taste. It might be just your own bias. So unless you have the expertise, the technical expertise to say what is good or what is bad, no, when you taste a when you for example, when we're talking about cuisine, when you taste something, if you don't like, for example, you don't like Indian cuisine, then whatever you taste, for you it will be yucky. But if you have the palate for it, then you can be able to tell, is this curry good or not? No, is this samosa perfectly fried, or there's something wrong with it? So unless you have that expertise, you don't make any judgment calls. What you try to do is describe the experience to your readers and try to see if or try to get them to experience it themselves, or to interview an expert or several experts about what they think of a particular art form, artist, uh, culinary place, music, etc. No? So here is where we rely on expert interviews. Okay, but there are other things that you should do and research aside from just relying on experts. First is the background of the artist, the background of the chef. Where did they study? How did they gain their experience or their knowledge and their popularity? You know, what makes them different from other artists? So these are things that can be researched. Then, of course, if you're about to interview or to do a feature about an artist doing abstract art, I suggest even before talking to the artist, you read up on what is abstract art and try to have a basic knowledge of who the more famous, the Jack Pollocks, the, who are the artists that have influenced the world of abstract art, so that you are not clueless when you talk to the artist. Okay. So in a painting, for example, one should look into the medium, and you should at least have done your homework as to the various types of media that an artist can use, no, oil, watercolor, pastel, etc., etc. And then the style of the artist, you try to get or to try to discover that before going to the exhibit, or at least before talking to the artist, whether even abstract has variants. No, is it naive, or is it natural? Is it surreal? So you have to know what type of art, the style of the artist, and then, well, the influencers, that one you can get through the interview with the artist themselves. But uh, ideally, that when they say a name of who their influencers are, hindi naman parang clueless ka na ngayon mo lang narinig yun, no? So parang you should at least have a working knowledge of who possible influencers are in that particular field of art or music. So we have to look at the context of the art. Why, why is this the chosen subject matter? No, you have to ask also the artist about that, and then relate it after he explains or she explains. Then to be able to relate it. So, if, for example, it's political protest. So, what are they protesting? No, so you should be able to explain that to your readers. Okay, so it takes that's where the your research should take you. So research in this, especially in art and culture, can come both before and after the interview with the artist, to supplement the article that you are going to write. So much like the art feature, a review requires some level of experience to be able to write one. Again, we should distinguish between a critic, someone who has the background and expertise to critique a film, to critique a literature, to critique theater. So normally they have, they're even part of the industry. Apart from the academic preparation, they're also directors themselves, or writers themselves, famous authors themselves, so etc. So they have the, again, what we call in Filipino the K. No? Okay, so but the difference between an art and feature article and a review is that there is such a thing as the popular opinion. So for as long as it's clear in your writing that you are espousing a popular opinion, then you can actually make a judgment call. And then, of course, with a little bit more of background research and, you know, um, growing in knowledge, then you can also be a little more of a critique as well. So you can say, well, the popular opinion, actually, you can read through reviews, what people are saying about the book. You could ask people what they thought about the book or the film, and you yourself can put, by being transparent, say this is what I felt or this is what I thought of the film. Then yeah, you could easily, as long as it's labeled as your opinion, which the reader may or may not agree with you. So for the non-expert who cannot comment on the technical aspects of the film, the reviewer can cover the following with the proper research. So one, genre. So what is the genre of the film? This is something that, you know, um, with a little research you can figure out for yourself, and whether it is a it has the potential to be a classic in that genre. Then the meaning and significance of the title. Why was this title chosen? So if you cannot interview someone, you can try to relate what did it say in the film. Usually the film itself has the clue to why this title was chosen, and a careful watching and a careful analysis of the film will be able to tell you the answer to this question. What is it about? What does it represent? So these are something that you can include in the review. Now, make sure, especially depending on whether you're writing it for what type of publication, many publications do not want spoilers, meaning you can review it without saying the ending or the climax or who done it. No, so you can say how good or bad it was without spoiling the film for somebody who has not watched it yet. Or what some other publications do is, to prior to stating the spoiler, there's what they call the spoiler alert, meaning there's a parenthesis clause there saying, do not read beyond this point if you have not watched the movie, or something to that effect. All right, and then we look at, what is the background of the producer or the director? Is this the type of films he really does? Or is this something new for him, or her? What makes them unique? Or what makes them fit what makes them fit, or be the best chosen, or the ideal director or producer for this film, or even the cast. We can say, is this, the lead, the 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 actors playing the lead role, is this the type of roles that they normally have, or is this out of the norm? Normally they're in drama and now they're doing comedy, for example, or vice versa. And then, is the film an original or a remake? Is it based on a real event or a person? So we can ask that as well. And then what is the emotional appeal? Starting with yourself. No, how did you feel na naiyak ka ba? No? Did it make you laugh? Did it make you cry? How did you feel after the film? Did you come out of the theater feeling disappointed or feeling happy that you watched it, or indifferent, like eh, couldn't care? No? It's something that even if I didn't watch it, it's okay. Then what did you like and not like, and why? No, so you kind of also have to analyze. You can't just say I liked it without putting evidence. No, so that's one thing. If you're going to make a critique, sort of, in your feature article, then you have to justify that critique. What made you not like something? Whether it was the costume, the musical background, the set design. So you do have to talk about it. Okay? What sort of people or audience will like the film? So of course, diba, if we have all different tastes, and then even if you didn't like it, you would be able to just think about all your friends. Who among your friends would actually like this type of film? No? So, and that friend of yours, what type of person is she or is he? No? So he's the sporty type. That's why he's going to enjoy this film or whatever. So you can second guess what type of audience will this film appeal to. All right. And then if it's based on the novel, you have to see, was it faithful to the novel? Okay, this is crucial. And if you're doing a review of a film that is based on a particular literature, I am sorry to say, but you will have to read that literature. You can't fudge that. You can't fake that. You'd really have to read the book to be able to make a proper judgment call. Okay. So your opinion must be informed, and you must show it to be informed by indicating the evidence of your statement. Okay. Whoa. All right. So in the end, we can say that research is a formalized curiosity. Especially for a feature writer, since you're not doing an investigative piece, so it's not earth shaking. It's not going to solve the problems of the world. It's not going to expose corruption. But it will entertain, it will inform, it will be probably more read than an investigative piece. So make sure that your feature story is well researched so that it can also be better written. So it is poking and prying with a purpose. And that is what feature writing, feature research in feature writing is all about.